Hello anime lovers, it's Nats from Aninats channel. I'm gonna bring you some cool anime scenes, compilation, and reviews from animes that I personally watched. So, let's get started. In this video I'm gonna bring you guys a space adventure anime series. This anime has a very good, unpredictable story. If you only watch the first episode, you might get bored. But I promise you that after the second or third episode, the story starts to bring up some intriguing and unpredictable scenario. Let's begin. 9 high school students arrived at the gathering for their planetary camp. Not long after they gather, a mysterious sphere appears out of nowhere and swallows up the students. They end up drifting in space where they find an abandoned spaceship. Everyone except Ares makes it on board. At the risk of running out of fuel and also ending up lost in space, Kanata goes out and rescue Ares. With everyone safely aboard on the spaceship, the students introduce themselves to each other. A student named Zach learns that they are 5,012 light years away from home. As paranoia sets in, realizing that the trip is impossible with the limited resources they have, the mood changes when Kanata inspires them to have hope, telling them how much he was in a similar position in a hiking trip where his teacher died in an accident, and he had to help his classmates survive 7 days in the wilderness. In addition, Zach finds planets the students can resupply on, en route to get back. The students unanimously nominate Kanata as the captain, and name the spaceship Astra after seeing the phrase, per aspera ad Astra on a plaque inside the spaceship. The students arrived at the first resupplying stop, the wilderness planet, Villa Force. They encounter strange forms of wildlife include parachute plants and trampoline trees. As the students go around obtaining resources for the next leg of the trip, they encountered the mysterious sphere again, but this time they managed to elude it. They found a good food source, and Kanata begins eating impulsively. As night falls, Funisha becomes trapped when a trampoline tree suddenly rises and a winged beast snatches her away. Despite the dangers, Kanata jumped into the tree and grabs a javelin to save Funisha. Quittery hugs Funisha and reconciled their differences, and Kanata reveals that he was trained to be a world-class athlete by his father. With the students ready to leave the planet, Zach tells Kanata that he found out that Astra communication systems were sabotaged, with the culprit likely being somebody in the group. As the Astra travels to the next resupplying stop some more, Kanata secretly trying to figure out who the saboteur is, but he doesn't know enough about everybody to make a determination. When Funisha recounts how a mysterious sunglasses man arranged for her adoption into Quittery's family, Kanata make theory that somebody wants them all killed, and warns everybody about the possible saboteur hunting among them. Ulgar reveals that he is the son of their school's vice principal, which puts the most suspicion on him. However, the ship is suddenly struck with micrometeorites reaching the hole and disabling the main power supply. Without power, the Astra is caught in gravity and begins plummeting into an uncontrolled descent. The group moves frantically to seal the holes and connect the ship's gravity controller to a generator. However, the gravity controller safety mechanism kicks in when it detects a small flying alien creature, forcing Ulgar to shoot it. With the power restored, Zach is barely able to land the Astra safely. It was later revealed that Ulgar secretly possesses a real handgun. In light of their combined effort to prevent the Astra from crashing, the students conclude that the saboteur has a desire for survival as well, and decide not to actively investigate for the time being. They land and encounter large friendly bird-like aliens they called Grubies. Unfortunately, they discovered that most of the edible plants spoil extremely quickly, making them unsuitable for long-term storage, and the Grubies are inedible, meaning they did not have enough food supplies for the next leg of the trip. Meanwhile, Yunhua deserts the ship, telling the crew to leave her behind. Kanata goes out to search for her and find her. Yunhua reveals that her mother emotionally abused her and raised her into believing it was better to avoid the attention of others. That moment, a large mushroom scattered around the planet begin releasing poisonous forest, infecting all of the students except Kanata and Yunhua, who were wearing their spacesuits. Charsi tells them that there should be an antidote mushrooms to encounter the poison. Kanata and Yunhua remember feeding a sick Grubies a yellow mushroom that cured it. As Kanata gathers the antidote mushrooms, Yunhua begins to sing to calm her sick friends, thanks to Kanata encouraging her to pursue her dream to be a singer. Kanata brings the antidote mushrooms back, curing his friends. while Yunhua gains more self-confidence. After the group recovers, they credit Yunhua singing for helping keep them alive, and they find out that she is the daughter of the famous singer Lucy Long. They then manage to find a stable food source and leave the planet. Meanwhile, back at home, the authorities have given up on finding the missing students after an exhaustive search. The parents of the missing students meet and consider whether they should declare their children legally dead. Only Aries' mom is genuinely concerned, while the other parents are quick to accept the decision to stop the search. The man in sunglasses that Phoenicia talked about earlier is silently sitting in the room. The only parent missing is Luca's father Marco, who is the powerful and controversial government official. Back in space, the group has landed on the oceanic world of Arispade, which they consider a paradise. The planet is beautiful, and food is plentiful. Luca and Ulgar go fishing, with Luca trying to get Ulgar to open up. Ulgar is shocked to learn the identity of Luca's father. Later that evening, the group has a picnic to celebrate their last night in Arispade. Suddenly the island is hit by a quake, followed shortly by a tsunami. Most of the group manages to make it on the Astra safely, but Ulgar and Luca are washed away. But they both end up being rescued by Kanata. After they leave Arispade, the group has some discussion to investigate their situation. Later on, Aries gets into a conversation with Charcy, and she notices the inconsistency in his story. She doesn't remember seeing him in the biology class he claimed to attend. The group confronts Charcy, suspecting he is hiding something from them. Charcy reveals that, like Aries, he's also a transfer student who arrived after Aries. He admits that he did not reveal this earlier since he didn't want to talk about his past, since he is from Vixia Royal Quarter, the only nation on their home planet that is still ruled by nobility. In the past, he had befriended a commoner girl named Syra, and smuggled her in the area reserved only for nobles. When she was caught by a guard, Syra resisted and was pushed off a building, falling into a coma due to her injuries. Sometime later, Syra's family left Vixia, taking her with them. Charcy left as well, swearing to learn biology so he could hopefully find and heal Syra one day. The rest of the group are touched by Charcy's tragic story, and Charcy remarks that Aries remind him a lot of Syra. Afterwards, the group reaches the next planet, Icaris. However, Icaris' rotation is perfectly in sync with its orbit around the Sun, meaning that one side is permanently scorching hot, while the other side is permanently freezing cold, meaning that the only safe place to land is the region directly between both extremes. Unfortunately, as they attempt to find a landing spot, the Astra attacked by a massive carnivorous plant, resulting in the Astra suffering significant damage that makes reaching space impossible. Zack points out that they don't have the parts or resources to repair the damage, so they'll have to accept living on Icaris as their new home. Later, Charcy leads a search party, and discovers a second ship similar to the Astra. The ship is damaged and seemingly abandoned. Zack then realizes there's somebody preserved in the ship's hibernation pod for the past 12 years. The group opens it to reveal a young woman inside. The group brings the woman back to the Astra, where she tells them that she's Paulina Levinsky, an astronaut from the ship Arc 6. The Arc 6 originally had been sent out to find worlds suitable for human habitation, but was forced to crash land on Icaris. The rest of the crew went out to explore the planet but never returned, forcing her to use the hibernation pod to survive. Aries then gets the idea that since the Astra and Arc 6 are the same ship type, they can switch out Astra's damaged reactor section with the Arc 6. Meanwhile, Yunhua tells Paulina that she has been asleep for 12 years, and it's now 2063. Paulina panics upon learning that it's 2063, but does not reveal why. The ship repairs are a success and the group returns to foraging for food. Before the group leaves Icarus, they head out to investigate the fate of Pauline's crew and discover they were eaten by carnivorous plants hidden underground. The group finally leaves Icarus and plans to hold a party for Paulina. Quittery notices her and Phoenicia's blood types are an exact match, which is a highly unlikely coincidence for adopted siblings. Zack offers to perform a DNA test, and is shocked to discover Quittery and Phoenicia are genetically identical. He then privately reveals it to Kanata. Zack and Kanata reveal to the whole crew that Phoenicia and Quittery are clones. Together the crew forms the theory that they all, except for Ares, are clones. A younger replacements for their parents, who will transfer their memories with technology developed by Zack's father. Meanwhile, all the parents except Ares's and Charcy's are seen meeting and lamenting how the recently introduced Genome Control Act would expose their children as clones. This is why they stranded them in space to ensure their bodies would never be found. Back on the Astra, everyone is distraught by this revelation, but Kanata reassures them by claiming that even if their whole life was a lie, this trip has turned them into a family, and now they have more reason to return to bring their parents to justice. Kanata then takes time to approach the crew members individually, to see how they're doing. Most of them have found closure regarding their family situations. Zack later restores the space telescope using parts from the Ark 6, and able to bring up an image of their home planet. While the crew celebrating, Paulina enters the bridge and becomes confused at the physical differences between Earth and the planet they're traveling to. When the crew shows no knowledge of a planet named Earth, Paulina becomes hysterical, prompting the crew to reveal that their home planet is called Astra. Paulina and the group talk with each other, and discovers that Earth and Astra both had the same history up until 1962, where in Astra's history the Cuban Missile Crisis caused World War III, spurring the survivors to form a unified world government. Paulina then explains that on Earth scientists discovered that an asteroid would strike the planet in 2057. The Ark ships were sent out to scout for habitable planets, and the entire population would evacuate through the use of artificial wormholes. The group then realizes that they were brought to what was left of Earth to one of these wormholes, where they came across the Ark 7, which have been left behind and never used. Paulina theorizes that Earth's population successfully settled on Astra, but covered up their own history for some reason. Ares suggests that rather than thinking on it too much they should focus on getting home first. They arrived at the last planet, where they encounter another wormhole, and nearly able to escape. Realizing that the traitor will most likely get rid of them in this last planet, and take the last leg of the trip home themselves, Kanata decides to confront the traitor, who he has already figured out. He privately approaches Zack and Charcy to stage an ambush on Ulgar. But it is in fact a ploy to trick Charcy into exposing himself as the traitor. Kanata explains that the traitor would have to be the last person to be sucked into the wormhole to ensure the entire group is eliminated. Charcy admits his role and reveals that he knew he was a clone from the start, and that his original name is Noah Vix, the current king of Vixia. Charcy revealed that he was originally supposed to be Noah's spare body, and was raised since birth to believe that it was his only purpose in life. When the Genome Control Act was passed, he was assigned a mission to eliminate the other clones. Kanata remains skeptical, pointing out how much Charcy always deactivated the wormhole before it can suck. Charcy explains that he stopped his attempts because he did not want to harm Ares, who he reveals to be Cyrus' clone, who was Noah's daughter, the princess of Vixia. He then reveals his true past, where Sierra helped raise him even though he was only a clone. Unwilling to subject Ares to a doomed fate, Sierra secretly had Ares a surrogate mother, smuggled her out of Vixia to live a normal life. Sierra, however, is later pushed off a cliff and killed by an assassin. After Sierra's death, Charcy felt his mission was his only purpose in life. Kanata remains unconvinced, and point out how much Charcy enjoyed interacting with everybody, and that their friendship is genuine. The other students also try to convince Charcy that he doesn't have to be the clone he's supposed to be. Overcome with guilt, Charcy attempts to commit suicide by using a backup wormhole controller and creating a wormhole between himself and everybody else. Kanata charged straight at the wormhole using his anti-gravity shoes to jump over it and tackle Charcy. Kanata convinces Charcy to stop his suicide attempt, but the wormhole got so close that he loses his right arm above the elbow in the process. The shocks send Charcy back to his senses, and Kanata reminds him of the promise he made earlier of how he would be Kanata's second-in-command on his future spaceship. Quittery unable to stop the bleeding, and Charcy helps Kanata back to the Astra. Despite these actions, Kanata and the rest of the group still accept Charcy as one of their own, convincing him to live for himself. Charcy then tells everybody about the truth of Astra and Vixia. In the past, the nations of Earth developed the wormhole technology to evacuate the population to Astra. However, when the plan was revealed to the public, War immediately broke out as different nations attempted to fight over land on Astra, and the wormholes were misused as weapon. A single world government was finally formed to bring about peace, but not after half the population of Earth was killed. As a result, the world government decided to destroy all of the wormholes to prevent them from ever being used again. They also decided to manipulate history so that later generations would be unaware of the wormhole technology that brought them to Astra. The students decide to tell all the people on Astra their stories. Once they manage to get near enough to their home planet, Kanata tells Ares to send a message containing their entire story and pictures to her mother, Emma, resulting the government to acknowledge their story. As they return to Astra, they are greeted by a fleet of warships to welcome them home and inform them that their originals have been arrested for illegal cloning and attempted murder. After their return, the group becomes celebrities overnight. Kanata and Charsi convince the government to reveal the truth about Earth. Kanata then managed to defuse the resulting public uproar by writing a best-selling book, recounting his experiences during his journey home. Charsi becomes the new king of Vixia, but immediately gives up all political power, and opens Vixia's borders, and releases wormhole technology to the public. As a relic of the old Earth, the Astra is put into a museum. 7 years later, Ulgar has become a journalist. Paulina become a high school teacher, and Phoenicia is now in high school. Yunhua became a famous singer. Ares reveals Kanata finally proposed to her for marriage. Kanata has used his fortune to buy the Astra as well as a new prosthetic arm designed by Zack. Together with Zack and Charsi, they head off into space to explore new worlds to place wormholes on. They start a new adventure as a team. That's the end of the story. Please don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button, as I will bring you another amazing story soon. See you later.